Welcome to the training video on how to conduct key informant interviews. The training today will be facilitated by Diane and Kate from the TSO of World Vision International. The training will cover steps on how to conduct key informant interviews, tips on taking notes during key informant interviews, how to use the KII note-taking form and data collection tracking table, and to practice through role play and record feedback on the piloting of the tools. So let's get started. The steps to consider when conducting key informant interviews. So we want to first prepare for the key informant interviews ahead of time. We want to understand the purpose of conducting the key informant interviews. What information are we trying to probe out of the respondents? We need to really understand this because we don't want to just go through the questionnaire and the tools and just ask questions for the sake of asking questions. We want to understand as we probe the answers that the respondents are providing us with to really understand the objective of the evaluation. So for our purpose, the evaluation objectives for this evaluation is to identify the program components that may need to be strengthened to optimize or to have the greatest impact on child growth. It's also to understand what are the programmatic implications for implementing PD Hearth Lite compared to PD Hearth. So what is the difference of PD Hearth Lite and with PD Hearth for the different components such as the design phase, the actual implementation, and the supervision. So the design can include the situational analysis, the selection of the volunteers, the training of the volunteers. The implementation itself can include the heart sessions, were the phone calls being made, and then the supervision of the volunteers. So we want to understand what is the difference between PD Hearth Lite and PD Hearth for these different components. We should also familiarize yourself to the interview tool or questionnaire. So we can do this by pilot testing the tool and revising the tool as needed so the questions are clear to the target respondents. And it's also from practice through things like role play. We also want to understand the note-taking template you will record the key informant information or the data on. It's helpful to familiarize yourself to the headings and the format. Also understand the cultural barriers to be considered when conducting the interview. Always be polite and respectful. For phone interviews, call the respondent and agree on a date or time for the interview prior to the interview date. We also want to work in pairs for KIIs. There should be one interviewer and one recorder. The recorder could use a laptop and fill in the answers using the note-taking document provided. Please do not use a different document or change the headings of the note-taking document provided. And Kate will be taking us through in more detail of this note-taking document later. Also have all the equipment and tools prepared prior to calling the respondent, such as an audio recorder, a phone for phone interviews, the questionnaire tools, the note-taking document with an archival number, and the long consent form. I would highly recommend to save the note-taking documents for each respondent with the archival number ahead of time. And if you already have certain background information, you can fill that in the note-taking document ahead of time to save time, especially if you're doing these interviews over the phone. Also, practice through role play or pilot the tool and revise the questionnaire and translation as needed. Record how much time the interview takes during your role play. And ensure you have the complete list of respondents you need to interview. When conducting KIIs, call the respondent and introduce yourself. Confirm the name of the person on the phone to make sure that he or she is the person you want to speak with for the interview. If it is, Ask if they are in a safe place to talk right now for a 30-minute phone interview. If respondents say no, then ask for a different time you could call to complete the interview. Read the long verbal consent form to the respondents. If participants agree, here is an example of a long consent form. You can fill in the name of the participant on the line over here and circle yes. And then the enumerator can sign on this line here, indicate the date and time of when it was signed, and then you can also write your name, the enumerator's name, on the second line. Now read the introduction of the questionnaire tool and ask if you can record your discussion, which should be included in the introduction section of the tool. If the respondent agrees to the audio recording of the interview, put your phone on speakerphone and use another device to record the interview. The other device can be another phone or another recording device. And if this doesn't work, another option is using Skype. You can call another phone using Skype, but you must have Skype credit, and then you can record the conversation on Skype, and the recording will be saved on the computer. Ask each of the questions in the tool and clarify the question if the respondent does not seem to understand the question. Take note of the questions that may require revising after each interview. Also, record the time of when the interview starts and ends at the top of the note-taking form, which Kate will take us through. After conducting key informant interviews, on the same day, if possible, reread the transcription and use the audio recording to fill in any information that may have been missed. Please, please, once again, I want to emphasize, do not change the note-taking document. Make sure you are using the note-taking document when taking the notes, and do not add any additional tables or change the wording of the headings. This is because this document will be imported into a qualitative data software where the data will be analyzed. So you must use the note-taking document that we provide. Translate the transcription into English word for word. Please do not summarize while translating, as this will affect the qualitative data analysis. Please send an urgent email with feedback to the project team leaders and highlight the questions that need revisions in the wording or in the translation so changes could be made quickly across all the questionnaire tools.